thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. Today it's Hump Day. It's Wednesday, April 10th, and today is National Erase Self-Negativity Day. I think we all can do. Yeah, I like that.
Erase that, Jason.
Yeah,
it's all
erase
about positivity.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
The positivity.
Positive only.
Yes. It's also National Farm Animals Day, National Cinnamon Crescent Day. I don't know why they just didn't call it a croissant. Also, National Siblings Day for all you that have brothers and sisters out there. National Encourage a Young Writer Day. And I think this might be my favorite right here. Are you ready, Rico?
Come on with it.
National Library Outreach Day.
Reach out to your librarian, man.
Reach out to your librarian. Get a good book. None of those weirdo books, but get a good book.
Take a look.
Yes.
It's in a book.
That's right.
By the way, what are you guys reading these days?
Lots of good stuff. We got to keep this going, though. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And kicking it off, that's right, we have the dope dad himself who happens to be rocking that super fly High at 9 news cap today. That's right, with a red jacket. He has a red jacket on today, you guys. This is not orange.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's
Your
right.
color blindness has been cured, Jason.
You probably finally got your settings set in your camera. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Yeah, Rico, I see you over there, bicking back, being bull, drinking some Buffy.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Over here. You can say queso, right? They're drinking Buffy. And my favorite farm animal is a bow.
Oh boy. Not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Can I get the sad trombone on that one?
No, you can't. There's no sound effects today.
Oh man.
Adam is remote. Adam's at his house. He's controlling it all remotely. Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, everybody, it is officially, as April 10th, 2024, it is officially 10 calendar days out from Weed Christmas, which I somehow just realized it falls on the most epic palindrome day ever, 4/20/2024. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you can say it backwards.
Same from the front and the back.
Mm-hmm. It's like the 818.
Like but 420, unfortunately, over the last couple years has fallen victim to, like everything else in current American culture, politicization. Been a long morning. Politicizing everything, right? That's what everybody's doing, especially from the top down. All these politicians want to make everything political, and we just want to have a good time. Mm-hmm. This year is no different, and right on time, we've got reports from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and two fellow Democrat senators, Ron Wyden and Cory Booker, soliciting support for a bill to legalize cannabis on the federal level. According to Politico's Paul Demko, The trio sent a letter to other elected officials on Capitol Hill for a bill to legalize marijuana on the federal level, the reintroduction of the CAOA, the Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, which was first introduced, y'all might remember, back in 2022, and it failed. It has not been confirmed that if they intend to call this one CAOA2, Electric Boogaloo. But if they don't, I believe that they're missing an opportunity. Sources say that the senators plan to file it by the end of this month, and they also think that it would be really, really, really cool if they got everybody's signature on it by 4/19, because they think everything's a fucking joke. Here's what the letter said. It was circulated yesterday. An increasing number of Americans have made it clear at ballot boxes through their legislature and with their dollars that the war on drugs has failed, and the federal government must respect the decision of these states that have chosen to legalize cannabis. Federal regulation is long overdue to ensure that cannabis products are as safe as possible, to prevent access by children and adults younger than 21, and ensure that state and local jurisdictions have the resources they need to combat impaired driving. Market Watch's Steve Gelsey pointed out that, to be sure, Democrats have currently have a razor-thin margin in the Senate, and less sweeping measures, such as safe banking, bill to open up the financial system to legal cannabis companies, has never reached a full vote in the chamber after decades of kicking around Capitol Hill. Both parties, I might add, regardless of what revisionist history Jason Beck wants to tell us all, like he did yesterday.
The truth.
But both parties have been failing, not just the Democrats here. So I'm glad that Steve Gelsey actually continued by saying that while legalization remains popular with a majority of Americans, Republicans have been much less supportive, especially lately. The House Republican Policy Committee has recommended against safe banking measure, which is aimed at helping legal cannabis companies conduct financial transactions. Gelsey also alluded to the fact that Governor Glenn Youngkin, a Republican governor from Virginia, earlier this month vetoed a statewide measure that would have set up his state's first regulated marijuana marketplace. The letter from Schumer, Wyden, and Booker concluded by saying, federal law is needed to ensure that the tens of thousands of people harmed by the failed war on drugs, predominantly from communities of color, receive the justice they deserve after decades of over-criminalization. The federal government must catch up with the states and recognize that the prohibition of cannabis has stymied research into the effects of cannabis, made it easier for the illicit market to thrive, and ensnared thousands of people arrested for simple cannabis possession in the criminal justice system, end quote. Well, we all know that all those points are true. You know, another thing that we all know is that when it comes to cannabis legislation, none of these politicians take it serious enough to do what actually needs to be done to get this shit passed. They make weak-ass economic arguments about how much of a boon it'd be to mom and pop shops. They push cleverly worded statements to make us believe all the marijuana prisoners will be emancipated all at once, like it's 1863 all over again and Joe Biden's the new Abe Lincoln. They show up to our rallies and do photo ops with white folks in dreadlocks dressed up in pot leaf print suits, ponchos, and Birkenstocks every year. And over the last couple of years, they tease dropping bold legislative drafts on or around 420 so they can show up to the party and brag about all the shit that they've done to fight for our cause. I like to remind these senators that cannabis is a life-saving medicine. It just happens to be life-saving medicine that you can enjoy with in social environments without the fear of 99% of the side effects that FDA-approved drugs released to the public daily come with. It's my response to the tone-deaf lawmakers who think it's cute to announce the latest version of whatever half-baked weed legislation that they know has no chance of passing on or around the one day of the year stoners just want to get stoned. This goes to both sides, Republicans and Democrats. Y'all want to point fingers at each other about who's at fault as the world burns all around us in the wake of their so-called leadership decisions. Cannabis is unique in the fact that it has, can, and will continue to bring folks together from all walks of life and from both sides of the aisle. Y'all want to show up on 420 to get high and kick it? Great. Come on with it. but leave this disingenuous legalization bullshit behind. One of the biggest buzzkills at any big weed event, especially on 420, is a lying ass square that hops in the cipher talking about all the cool shit they did before they got there and what they're finna do right after they leave. Ain't nobody got time for that, man. Don't be that person. And don't talk about it, be about it. If it's a good bill, kill the theatrics and just get it done. Do your job. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. What y'all think about this?
Well. I mean, it sounds like a whole bunch of more lip service and grandstanding, and people caring more about their egos than they are actually caring about the will of the people, is what all I'm hearing.
Sounds like Peanuts. Lucy's saying, "Come kick the football one more time."
Right.
How many times we're going to fall for this shit? You need to direct this, go right at it directly, or get off this hobby horse and leave it alone.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the courts help us out. My story's about today. So I'm tired of listening to this bullshit.
I appreciate, Rico, you calling it out for what it is, right? If you analyze the overview is what we all have been saying on this, it is all of those things. The ball is getting moved every time we run up to kick it. But you can see, if you analyze this language of how they're talking now, Senator Schumer's starting to talk about how it will help everyone who has simple possession. You notice the key terminology that's being used in here now, because now that's in line with what the Biden administration has been saying. Simple possession, because they did a sleight of hand to us where they said we were going to let everybody out of prison and expunge their records if you were there for a nonviolent cannabis offense. Then it got shrunk down and subcategorized into simple possession, because there's realistically they know that's nobody. And you don't have to do anything for simple possession. So if you analyze the language, you see that the Dems are all starting to fall in line, and the Republicans are too. This is not a Dem or Republican issue. Both of them have dropped the ball numerous times in the end zone on this, wide open, doing jumping jacks. So that we can miss us with all the Dem Republican pointing back and forth. They've both had the opportunities many times and missed them.
I agree.
But if you analyze the COA, or CAO, or whatever Schumer's calling it now. Yeah. That's criminal justice. The part that they're touting the most, the criminal justice section, is thin. It's so thin that people have to petition the court to get out, and it excludes certain cannabis violations and certain leadership roles and conspiracies and stuff, which federal government and federal prosecutors do all the time in these situations. All of the time. They enhance and throw these leadership enhancements and these other things to get you to plead out to take a lesser sentence when those things maybe weren't even in the offense conduct. It's just a way that they do the charging. It's part of the justice system now. So when you have these situations happen and you have a section of cannabis offenders being excluded from a bill, that these senators show up to these 420 parties and do tout, "Oh, look what I'm doing." Well, are you also saying that I'm leaving 40% of your comrades in prison? You're not saying that part, are you? I'm just saying, let's call it what it is. You're pulling the ball away from us, but the ball's ugly no matter what anyway. It doesn't have any pigskin on it. It's like yarn and stuff. Where'd you guys get that ball? Because that's not one we even want to kick.
I mean, I feel like this happens every few months. We have these three primary cannabis federal bills, right? SAFE, MORE, and CAOA, or whatever the acronym is. Yeah. And every few months, we get some word that, we're going to bring this bill to the floor for a vote. It's going to get close to passing, and nothing happens. And then what do? A few weeks later, they start talking about one of the other bills, and that one is suddenly close to passing or getting out of committee. And then that one sits in committee again. And now I think we've done this in the past 3 weeks, SAFE, MORE, and now this third bill. And these same three bills have been sitting in committee for years and years and years in Senate. So At this point, any news about any of these federal legalization bills, I kind of just take it with a grain of salt until we see some actual action on it.
Exactly. That's why I said it's all lip service. I'm glad that you agree with me on this, Sohum.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. It's hard to get excited about any of this because it always just seems to get to this certain point and then stop, and then like something new comes.
Yep.
They're killing our high, man. They're killing our high.
Check out this other shiny thing over here.
Yeah,
man. Nonstop, one after another.
New idea.
Let's not worry about guns. Let's not worry about sending all these guns and everything, and it is pretty much sparking up a World War III like we are doing. Let's just talk about, we're gonna be producing this new bill, and we just might have legalization coming in a few months. Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
Are you guys excited?
Exactly. And on that, it's like the guy with the fishing pole and the dollar. Like, oh, you almost got it. You almost got it. Just like that. But on that, we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Sohum Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sohum Razani.
Sohum Razani Okani.
Oh, also known as Sohum Connery.
Oh,
Sohum Connery.
Cute.
Up next, we have the man who miraculously wiped his eyes with the mud that Jesus Christ gave him on Good Friday a couple weekends ago, and he now is no longer colorblind, and he sees me for what I am, an upstanding black man in society, on stage next to him,
rockin' red
as his peer.
Thinking back.
Rockin' red.
Coming to the stage, it's the High 9 News head honcho, but also our very own DEI czar himself.
That's right.
Jason Beck.
That's right. DEI is DOA. Know that. 100%. Yeah. Rico, man, oh man, do I have an interesting story for you. All you people are always worried about your vape pens, and it sounds like Vape Kate 2.0 is coming back, you guys. Because animal tranquilizers are found in cannabis vapes and illicit sedatives in the UK, you guys, the United Kingdom. People buying cannabis vapes and illicit sedatives to treat pain, anxiety, insomnia risk unknowingly consuming a powerful animal tranquilizer that can cause skin ulcers and overdoses. I'm probably going to murder this. Xylalazine, 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 has been prevalent in the U.S. for several years, where it is commonly found mixing with strong opioids such as heroin and fentanyl, and has caused thousands of deaths. Research from King's College London has found that its presence has been steadily growing in the U.K., causing multiple deaths since 2022, when the first fatality was identified. Unlike in the U.S., in the U.K., xylazine has been found in counterfeit prescription drugs such as codeine, Xanax, and diazepam and Valium tablets, and vapes containing THC, the psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. Dr. Caroline Copeland, senior author of the study, says this is a cause for alarm, as a much wider population of people who use drugs beyond heroin users will be exposed to its harms. Oh boy. And another quote, we also know that most people who buy heroin will not intend to buy xylazine, and this combination increases the risk of overdose. Xylazine was disguised as emerging threat to the United States and increases the risk of overdose. And this public health threat is growing concern for the UK, they say. The findings published in the Addiction Journal drew on evidence from all toxicology laboratories in the UK. The drug was found in 16 people, 11 of whom died. And in 9 of the 11 confirmed deaths, xylazine was found in combination with a strong opioid. The lack of this combination in the other 2 cases suggests xylazine was potentially consumed in an illicit sedative or vape. Copeland said the total number of deaths is likely higher since xylazine does not stay in the body for long. Since August of 2023, the last death covered by the research, in quotes, "We've had several more deaths, so it is only continuing and increasing," she said. Xylazine is a non-opioid sedative painkiller and muscle relaxant that used in veterinary medicine, which can dangerously lower breathing and heart rate. It is known as tranq when cut with heroin and fentanyl. If injected directly into the user's bloodstream, it can form large open skin ulcers, which, if infected, may result in limb amputation. Copeland recommended measures to avoid an epidemic of xylazine use, which resulted in a 20-fold increase in deaths within 3 years in the United States, including requiring pathologists and coroners to request toxicology testing for xylazine to understand the true prevalence of the drug. Xylazine's emergence follows the spread of nitgazins, which are synthetic and extremely powerful drugs implicated in a space of recent deaths of heroin users. Co-author Dr. Adam Holland, a co-chair of the Drug Special Interest Group at the University of Bristol, said the increase in drug adulteration and deaths shows that the punitive drug laws are failing, he added. In quotes, "We need to expand the range of harm reduction interventions available for people who use drugs, including drug checking and overdose prevention centers, to give them the opportunities they need to stay safe." A government spokesperson said, "We are aware of the threat of xylazine and are determined to protect people from that threat posed by the drug and other illicit synthetic drugs." In quotes, we will not hesitate to act to keep the public safe. Following advice from the Advisory Council of the Misuse of Drugs, we intend to make xylazine a Class C drug, meaning anyone supplying this substance will face up to 14 years in prison and a fine, or possibly even both. Well, I find it interesting that these harm reduction clinic advocates are advocating for this. I find it extremely interesting, and they're trying to say that they're keeping it safe by making sure that they're testing people's drugs instead of just having people get off of drugs. Is just mind-boggling to me, but nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. This is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
Is this Vapegate all over again? Vapegate.
That's what I'm saying. This is Vapegate. Yeah, I believe it is.
I mean, it's not
and
here,
tranq.
So thank God for that.
And this is a lot of just tinges of just reefer madness shit, because they said 16 people were affected, 11 died. Like, how many people did they test overall? Number one. Number two, they said that there's a link to tranq. You know,
no. They're saying that this is tranq.
Yeah, they're saying
it is.
Oh, bro, did you see the special on tranq and what it does to people and their bodies?
Just say that it's become like more prevalent in the U.S. Like, how many tranq?
Bro, it is rampant in these drug dens. In these harm reduction clinics.
It started in Russia, right? It was called crocodile or something.
They're linking this all to the U.S. And I'm like, what is this? Like, where is this information coming from? Like, where are these numbers coming from? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I need more information before I believe this shit.
Stop the propaganda. That is all. That whole story was pure propaganda.
I don't know,
Stop
bro.
it.
I don't know.
God.
I don't know, bro. They're putting this shit in vape carts.
Airtime on that propaganda.
They're putting this in vape carts, bro.
No, man, listen. This is the drug warriors' last attempt to try to influence people's perception. It's starting in the UK with some BS. Listen, Okay, if this is true, this is why you go to a licensed dispensary and purchase your vape products that have been tested.
They don't have those in the UK, bro. They don't have those in the UK. They don't have them in the UK.
Where did you get this story from? The National Enquirer?
Well, yeah, the UK's version, The Guardian. And the picture there is not even a cannabis vape. That's a nicotine tank that they have as a mod. So,
I mean, it's a stock image. Who cares about the image?
It's propaganda.
Oh my God,
it's propaganda.
Why is the image matter?
Listen,
this is the same drug that started in Russia, right? Like 5-10 years ago, wasn't there an epidemic? They call it crocodile or something like that, and it was basically
big in South America too.
Yeah, and it was rampant among heroin users. I have a real theory about this. Like, I think it was invented by the Russian government to kill off their own addicts, and it slowly has spread around the world from there.
Could be. I don't believe this story.
I don't know. You cannot believe it all you want, but I'm going to tell you what, man. This sounds to me like VapeGate 2.0. I can see this happening, and I do.
All this does is just give more, reasoning why testing is important. That you should only buy lab tested products. Yada yada yada.
I mean, I'm not buying the testing argument. But I do think that this is a page out of the prohibitionist playbook of like, hey, we all know. Hold on a second. So my thought on this is that if Project Sam and those others, right, can create this mass hysteria that cannabis all of a sudden kills people when we all know that cannabis doesn't, even though they're adding in these other chemicals that actually kill people to the cannabis, now all of a sudden cannabis is the bad guy. Okay, and cannabis can kill you, and then it creates this whole public fear, and that's what's going on over here. This is all VapeGate 2.0. Like just wait. I'm telling you, this story is going to get rampant and it's going to go crazy like wildfire. But nonetheless, we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right.
They don't even have a link to where this shit came from. Like,
what do you mean? Where it came? What are you supposed to do? Get a link to your street dealer on the UK? What are you asking for?
To the sources of this story. There's like no people like listed as that died. There's no link in the Guardian like going to where they got this information. Like, this is straight up bullshit, bro.
Next story. All
right, we're gonna keep it.
We're above this coverage. We're gonna keep this above this type of coverage. Let's go.
We are gonna keep this thing rolling. We are gonna roll right on into Mr. Attorney Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law Practice, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. That's right. Coming up next, it is everyone's happy Tio Loco. That's right, Mr. Dale Schafer.
Good morning, everybody. Let's see if we can follow this story about bovine scatology with something that might make a little more sense to everybody. My story this morning is a direct challenge to the Controlled Substances Act. It comes out of Massachusetts. And this case got filed back in December. I think 4 licensed cannabis companies in Massachusetts. It's a direct attack on Raich versus Gonzalez. And what we got on Monday was the government's response. And it's a whole lot more bovine scatology. So let's take a little bit of a look at this. This is coming out of the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland and the DEA. And their first response to the challenge of the Controlled Substances Act here is that you don't have any standing because you're not being prosecuted and the banks didn't do business with you. That's not a direct harm that you can relate to the federal government. And I would just remind people that there's a story this week out of New Mexico where Homeland Security and the Border Patrol has been grabbing distribution trucks and taking their weed. So that argument, I think, is bullshit because there is an active threat right now going on. Even though there's a spending preclusion, it still violates federal law. And the story from the government, oh, you're not being prosecuted at this moment, so therefore you have no standing, I think is nonsense. But this is going to move the case forward. The other argument is that there's no special category of people who consume or use cannabis or involved in the cannabis trade. This is the 14th Amendment's substantive due process argument that the Dobbs decision is based upon. And I just don't see the courts giving this a whole lot of credit, because being able to smoke weed is not one of those important interests that the courts are going to recognize, especially under the court system we have right now. I think better chance here in the long run is just a direct challenge to the Raich versus Gonzalez case. And just for a little bit of historical perspective, the Constitution and the enumeration clause of Article 1 gives the Congress the power to regulate commerce amongst the several states. Okay, so intrastate within the state was never something the federal government thought it had the power to control. That is until FDR set up the Agriculture Administration Act, and he threatened to pack the court after the 1936 election. And one of the 5 conservative justices decided he's going to flip and become a progressive justice. And so we get this case called Wickard versus Filburn, where the Agricultural Adjustment Act controlled every grain of wheat that was grown in the whole country. Wheat was legal to grow, but only if you notified the government, they gave permission how much you could grow. And the farmer here decided, I'm going to grow 5 acres to feed my animals. And the Secretary of Agriculture said, no, you're not, because allowing you to do that takes away from the market where you would go to buy it. And because it has a substantial impact on interstate commerce, we're going to allow the courts to step in and tell you, intrastate, you can't do this because it violates the Commerce Clause. I mean, that's kind of geeky, but back in the early 2000s, Angel Raich and Diane Monson said, look, we're going to go challenge Wickard versus, they didn't even know about Wickard versus Filburn. They're just going to challenge the Controlled Substances Act because we're going to grow it in the backyard, we're going to take it in our house, we're going to use it. It's never going to cross a state line. And the justices, dusted off Wickard versus Filburn from the early 1940s and said, it's the same thing. We're going to control intrastate activities under the Commerce Clause because we've got this grand scheme to prohibit marijuana. And I read Justice Thomas's dissent with some hope that maybe down the line we would take a look at the 10th Amendment, which is a specific amendment which gives the states all power not given to the federal government. The federal government was only allowed to do intrastate prohibition if it was a grand scheme that covered the entire country. And as we all know right now, half the country's got legal marijuana. So they're attacking the fundamental basis for the Raich case, that based upon what Clarence Thomas said, is that you're either all in or all out. You can't be half in or half out. Otherwise, the 10th Amendment is what controls here. So what I'm hoping is that these companies have the resources, because they're going to lose at the trial level. Gonzalez is the law. It's going to take the Supreme Court to overturn this. They're probably going to lose at the appellate level because, again, it's going to take the Supreme Court to overturn Raich. But my suspicion is that we get this in front of the Supreme Court, it's going to take a year or more to do that. The Supreme Court's going to go, hang on. We stopped Obamacare because you can't use the Commerce Clause to force people to buy insurance. I don't see the court agreeing that the Controlled Substances Act can control intra-state activities. Now, I don't know if that fixes the whole problem here, but I'm going to stand back and watch with some hope that the Supreme Court will throw the Controlled Substances Act out. Now, I hope this is the case to do it, but I'm going to throw it back at you guys and see what y'all think about this.
Dale, I love that we're getting your perspective on this one, because it's looking like, they have this powerhouse legal team behind them. It's looking like the one case that might actually crack the ceiling and bust all that they've been doing up. They are flailing, and the feds are they keep on losing, and this one might make it all the way to the top. So if we can get the CSA thrown out, what's going to happen to the other drugs though?
Okay, let's be realistic though. What are the chances that this Supreme Court will rule in favor of throwing this.
Actually, good.
I
good.
think so.
Better than good.
Yeah, no,
better than good.
Clarence Thomas has already signaled that if this comes into the Supreme Court, that he will side because he will toss down Raich versus Gonzalez. Because the state of legal cannabis is way different now from when it was when Raich versus Gonzalez was first decided, right? So we have a totally different system. The feds have a hands-off approach. What we had then was no weed anywhere, period. And the basis of what this, and Dale, I want to just say, brilliant. Thank you for the breakdown. That was perfect, a perfect point of view and historical context on the legality of this and how this whole issue has came about. So thank you for that. But the issue of this, of the way it rests on interstate commerce, is the theory that it can affect a black market in another state. Like, that is already a precarious basis to have this on, right? The theory that it could affect another black market in another state, right? You're not even supposed to recognize the black market if you are in legal terms, right? But we are. So I think the whole basis of how Raich versus Gonzalez was first decided. Shout out to Angel Raich too for all that you have done and all that you continue to do. I talked to her briefly a few weeks ago, and she's still an advocate. She's still down and a steward for this plant. But again, like the basis of how this case was decided is no longer there anymore. And I believe, Sohum, if it does make it to the Supreme Court, that this is going to be a very interesting case that we may see come down our way.
Well, Chief Justice Roberts, when he announced the decision in the Obamacare, he drew a line on the Interstate Commerce Clause. I think we've got some people already on the side of that we have a 10th Amendment. It's specifically enumerated, and the feds don't get into the 10th Amendment area unless there's some compelling reason. And I think Raich's basis for a compelling reason is totally gone, as you said, Luke. So I think we have a stage set here for the courts to take a step and go, nah, this is bullshit. You don't get to interfere in a state's business under a federal commerce clause argument under these circumstances. If they pull the plug on marijuana being in the CSA, who knows where it's going to end, because then it's free floating. Someone's going to have to get off their ass and do something to capture it in some legislative scheme, or it's going to go, you can't tax it. They want money from it. So, they're going to do whatever they can to keep the money. And right now, they're making more money with 280E, and the law enforcement folks are getting resourced. So, who wants to upset the apple cart? Well, people like me who went to fucking prison wanted to, and Luke too. We wanted to upset. People who run businesses don't want the government up your ass for stuff that is in compliance with state law.
Agreed.
Period. So let's move this on to a place where it makes some sense.
Speaking of moving on,
right now it's crazy.
Real quick, Dale. Do you think this is going to be like a game of chicken, being played at the highest level, where our conservative court, Supreme Court, right now, they're showing themselves to be like absolute constitutional absolutists, where the country has changed since the last amendments were made to the Constitution. Do you think we're going to actually get some amendments to the Constitution that are much needed, or do you think that this is just going to be, the conservatives on the court are going to throw this thing out and just give it away to the states?
Well, I would say the horse we have to ride right now is taken to the Supreme Court and make the argument that Clarence Thomas made in his dissent. Okay, if I'm advising these folks, it's like you pack your piggy bank for resources here, bring in every amicus you can from the ACLU to conservative libertarian groups, bring them in and force this to the court. I'll assert you're going to be there on certiorari asking them to take it up. I think that's where lobbying behind the scenes is going to take it up, because someone's got to break the logjam here. The politicians are such pussies. They won't do anything here. You're going to have to kick them in the ass and take it away from them. And that's what I think the court would do, because the court's it is political, but it's looking at this from the basis of read the Constitution. What the hell does it say? You don't have authority over the states. Okay, period. Get out of here.
And on that, we got to roll to a commercial. We're going to be right back. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Oh yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't hit it already, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. We are almost at 3,000 subscribers, so make sure that you're not getting left out in the cold. Also, all the articles that we cover on today's show you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. We'll see you there.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla, and if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Like 3 extra yees on that one. I like that, man.
A lot of extra yees.
A lot of yees.
Loading up the yees.
Yes.
It never gets old, though. It never gets old.
Never,
My
ever.
favorite.
We're only missing Kanye in that
It's hard to
commercial.
beat the Saman commercial. It's hard to beat that one.
It's hard because Simone did a great job, but the yee, it just has a different feel to it.
Here comes the yee. And speaking of the yee,
we need to have Saman add a couple yees in his next one.
yes, we do. But our next correspondent has been in the game for over a decade now, currently reporting live out the great purple state of Texas.
It's really rare.
Working on a lifestyle brand called Grind for serious and professional athletes, But coming to the stage, y'all know who it is. It's the man, the myth, the legend, representing Mr. Sohum Shah.
Thank you, Rico. Today we're gonna talk about Russia and cannabis in Russia.
Russia. Yeah.
So as we're aware, obviously all very happy that Brittany Griner was able to come home last year, but she is far from the only cannabis prisoner in Russia. So we're going to talk about some of the other people that are still locked up and what is happening at our federal level to hopefully try and bring them home. A coalition of more than 20 U.S. senators has filed a resolution condemning the arrests of American citizens in Russia, including a Pennsylvania medical marijuana patient, Mark Fogel, who's serving a 14-year sentence over simple possession of marijuana. Sponsored by Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin, Democrat from Illinois, the measure was filed to mark the one-year anniversary of the arrest of Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich on unfounded allegations of espionage. Side note on that, we have a fellow cannabis reporter, Jeremy Burke, who's an old friend of Evan, so if you want more information about that whole story and to catch up on that, I highly recommend checking out Jeremy Burke's social media and see what's being done to bring Evan home. But by introducing this resolution, we're yet again bringing to light the cruelty of the Russian government, Durbin, who also chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee, said in a press release on Tuesday. As fellow Americans, we demand the release of all American citizens who face arbitrary arrests by the Russian government. The senator said in a floor speech on Thursday that Fogel's arrest over possession of medical cannabis he was prescribed in a legal state resulted in a ludicrous 14-year sentence in Russian labor camps. Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat from Pennsylvania who's among the co-sponsors, said Fogel was detained for carrying a small amount of medical marijuana which was prescribed by his doctor. He's now spent over a year of a 14-year sentence in a Russian prison because of bogus large-scale drug trafficking conviction. A 14-year sentence is absurd, even by Russian standards, he said. The Other co-sponsors of this resolution included Senators Tim Kaine, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, Liz Warren, Ron Wyden, Chris Van Hollen, Richard Blumenthal, Bob Casey, Chris Coons, Sheldon Whitehouse, Angus King, Patty Murray, Catherine Cortez Masto, Debbie Stabenow, Jeff Merkley, Amy Klobuchar, Michael Bennett, Peter Welch, and Gian Shaheen. So we have a pretty big coalition there. At this point, there's not really much going on, but the lawmakers are making pleas for the State Department to escalate Fogel's case, including by formally designating him as wrongfully detained. This resolution also urges that designation. They've pointed out that his situation is comparable to that of WNBA player Brittany Griner, who also served time in a Russian prison over possession of cannabis oil, but she also lawfully obtained as a medical marijuana patient in Arizona before being released as a part of a prisoner swap that the Biden administration negotiated. The resolutions were introduced shortly after a family of visited the White House to meet with high-level officials and also raise attention to this case with members of Congress. You can read more about the resolution and the letters that these senators are filing, but I mean, I think it's at least a step in the right direction. We need to bring all of those prisoners home. They're at this point, I think they're political prisoners, especially if you look at the timing that many of them were arrested just ahead of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. My belief has always been that was instigated as leverage during this conflict. So I hope we bring them all home. I hope the State Department escalates Fogel's case and does whatever is necessary to bring him home. But yeah, let's hear what everyone else has to say. It's Sohum with High at 9 News.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad, but we need to fix shit here before we're criticizing other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Straight up.
I mean, I feel that too. But I am glad to see that there is some collective effort being put behind this.
I think the bigger issue is that the State Department needs a coalition of 20 senators to actually escalate this case. And to your point, Rico, right? Senators and our legislative branch of government shouldn't have to spend time passing a resolution like this when they could be focusing on meaningful legislative change in the U.S. And why does the State Department need pressure from a coalition of 20 senators to even escalate this case in the first place when it's clearly absurd?
Yeah.
So I think all of those points can be true, but at the end of the day, for sure, nobody should be spending 14 years in a Russian labor camp over a little bit of weed.
You're 100%. I agree with that statement 100%. And I agree with what you said in regard to them, this being a thing that the State Department does is generally overall being positive. However, this is it. Like, we don't need to have 20 senators that are all Democrats because they don't have one Republican on that letter. We don't need 20 Democrats sending a letter to a Democratic administration telling the Democratic agency to do their Democratic job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, it's like, yeah, 14 years sucks. Rico is also correct, and so is Manndie. We have people here that have these ridiculous and ludicrous sentences that are well above 14 years for well below a half ounce of weed. I'm not saying why Mr. Fogel is there. I'm not saying anything like that. A half ounce of weed should never give you a day in prison anywhere in the world. But my point is, in America, we have people. My boy Weldon Angelos had 3 ounces of weed and got 55 years.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So like, let's keep this 100, senators.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing about like, why are we having an issue calling this wrongfully detained? We call it wrongfully detained when Brittany Griner was over there. We call it wrongfully detained when Paul Whelan is over there, who, I don't know, looked like he was doing some government stuff anyway over there. I'm not saying he should be in jail, but I'm just saying, like, it looked like he was doing some espionage stuff. Just saying.
Maybe Luke, maybe we should stage our own prisoner swap. Take some,
right. My point is this: is that like
these politicians and trade them for these drug prisoners.
Oh, I would happily trade. I would happily trade Chucky Schumer for Paul Whelan all day.
But let's talk about.
We can give them their own guys back. All the people that took money from Russian interests during their election cycle. Send them all back.
Oh, I mean, you're going to wipe out the whole Congress then if you do that. But
I have zero issue with that.
Listen, let's drill down on the wrongfully detained thing. Like even the terminology of wrongfully detained, right? You want to have this hearing and this resolution to be able to just label him wrongfully detained so that the State Department can do certain things, right? Even though we don't need the State Department, the Biden administration
it's
could not.
Even worse than that. The resolution can't even designate him as wrongfully detained. The resolution is asking the State Department to designate him as wrongfully detained.
That's even worse.
Even more ludicrous.
So the Congress can't even make it. You're right, because the State Department's in the executive branch, so Congress can't even make the State Department do anything. So that's all just smoke and mirrors too, right? But this whole wrongfully detained thing, right? We have people in America right now that are in prison for a lot longer, for a lot less cannabis, that we're not calling wrongfully detained, that we are saying you have to your sentence. We're having courts right now today rule on motions where they're saying that exact thing, and I'm paraphrasing. Hey, you're going to have to finish this sentence because cannabis is still illegal federally in America. So this whole situation, like this whole situation about this whole wrongfully detained thing, and then the optics of it, and it's ludicrous, the 14 years. Yes, all those things are correct. Sohum, you're correct, and both of you guys are correct, Manndie and Rico. But let's call this what it is. The administration could do this in a heartbeat if they really cared about it. There's a teacher over there. Mr. Fogel is a high school teacher that got caught up for a half ounce of weed and doing 14 years. So why are we not having press conferences for him? Because he's only a teacher and he doesn't have a jump shot? You know what I'm saying?
I think let's call this what it is. It's the same as Rico's story with the CAOA or whatever.
Well, not to mention the teacher is a white male, and so they don't get any whatchamacallit
don't
points.
Even bring that
just saying,
Jason.
Just saying.
But I will agree with the Sohum, like on the jump shot thing, like versus the teacher, because America doesn't value education.
They don't do that either.
What's more
America
clickable,
values,
right?
Yeah, celebrities.
On the media, what's more clickable?
Yep. So.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's sad, but at the same time, like we got to fix shit here before we start talking shit about other countries and their own policies. If this is their drug policy, we know that they're doing that stuff. This is what goes on in Russia.
Yeah, you know what time it is.
Exactly. Right.
You know what time it is before you go there. You know what's up.
Not stupid. And word to Luke for talking for calling out these word games that they're playing, because maybe this is why Joe Biden is saying nobody should be in jail for simple possession.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing, Rico. This falls under that simple possession.
Right, because we can say we don't do it for simple possession, but Russia does because Russia's bad. Like, come on, man, get the fuck out of here.
Yep. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Shit's just like... Hypocrisy is killing me, man.
Oh, boy. Get ready for the return of the shit show to Los Angeles, returning Friday, May 3rd, 7 p.m. to midnight at a brand new venue. Comedy sets by comedians such as Demi York, Lindsay Ames, Alyssa Phillips, Chris Thayer, Josh Shakespeare, Fumi Avi, Jay Snow, Brent Weinbach, Chris Kelly, and hosted by none other than Abdullah Saeed. So head over to www.cloudmedia.partners now to get your tickets, and we'll see you there. All right, coming up next, we have Miss Manndie Tingler. She's a mom. She's an edibles judge for the Emerald Cup, and she just recently had the Women's Canna Awards, which is a widely successful event, and you can actually stream the whole thing live on our YouTube page. You can check out that video and see who all the winners were and what they had to say. That's right, is none other than Miss Manndie Tingler.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? You know, the Women's Canna Awards was very fun and exciting, and I also have another fun and exciting thing to share with you today. the Washington, D.C. mayor signs a bill declaring 420 a tax holiday on medical marijuana purchases. Other cities, please listen. Washington, D.C. Mayor Bowser has signed legislation to suspend the jurisdiction's 6% tax on medical marijuana around 420 cannabis celebration, declaring a 2-week tax holiday on purchases from April 15th through April 28th. Bowser returned the 420 medical tax holiday legislation to lawmakers on Tuesday after signing it a day earlier. Supporters say the tax holiday would encourage patients and caretakers to shop at legal, licensed dispensaries rather than obtain marijuana through the illicit market. The district council unanimously approved the proposal earlier this month. Washington, D.C. Bowser has signed legislation to suspend the jurisdiction's 6% tax all the way to the 28th, you guys. This is a huge, huge step. I don't know about you, but like sitting back and I'm thinking, how much money will people save and how many more people will jump into these stores, right? This is such a popular holiday in our industry, right? And it's exciting to me that these folks in Washington, D.C. are giving this a trial. They're saying that roughly 200 unlicensed dispensaries currently exist in that district, and about 70% of those have applied to transition into the regulated market. So I'm really excited to see like what the capabilities of this are. I don't know if the rest of you have any thoughts on this, but I'm excited to hear. And also, I'm excited to take this article and send it over to our local city offices. This is a great idea. Let me know what you guys think.
So hold on though. Let me say this. So on 420, theoretically, if this was in Modesto happening, and I went to Fino's and I purchased a profit product, say for at $30, there would be no tax, and I would get the 420 discount at like 30%. So I would be walking out at like $20 with no tax. That's crazy.
That's if California was DC.
Right. For 2 weeks.
It's not.
2 weeks you could take advantage of this.
DC.
I think the funny parts of this to me are like there's a couple pieces that they put in there for the reasoning behind this that is hilarious. It's like, well, seems like this probably should not be a temporary thing. Because their main reasons, one of the main reasons is they want to deter people from going to the illicit market for their 420 purchases, which is
their whole market is illicit.
That it's overtaxed, and that's creating competition with the illicit market.
Their whole market is illicit though in DC.
I mean,
yeah.
Yes, but like,
just saying,
it's going to be really interesting because they have rough data, right, about what 420 looked like in the last couple of years, and then take this next 2-week time span and look at it in contrast to the last few years and see what kind of change they get, right? I mean, I'm just excited for like headset data on this.
I have a question. You're not going to get headset data out of DC.
Oh, we need it. I hope they're out there. I don't know who's keeping track of what out there right now, but somebody needs to share with us.
Ain't no one keeping track of that.
They're selling out the trunk out there. Exactly. It's like the old school hip hop days.
It's a straight trap market.
Track of something out there.
I have a question, Manndie. I have a question about this.
What about Happy Cabbage? Rico, are you guys
this tax holiday
out there?
This tax holiday, Manndie, is it only for just this year, or is this going to be the same thing every year? That's the real question.
It does not say. I didn't catch that part out of the article, but it is something that's approved for this year.
I bet you it's only for this year, and they're just trying to gaslight people. They're just trying to gaslight people.
That was
right
approved
now
by City Council was only for 2024.
Yeah, they're gaslighting people. This is all gaslight.
I love that it was, just a no-brainer, unanimous vote, because it's not. It's a win-win.
That's because they know they're not getting any real tax revenue already. It's because they're not getting any real tax revenue anyway, because they don't have a real system in place. So therefore, they're getting whatever they get, and they're just like, oh yeah, hey, we're gonna create a tax holiday because we're not really getting anything, and we can look like we're doing something for the people. Rico, I think you're on mute. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear you.
Oh yeah.
Because Republicans won't let them be a state.
That's why. Not because Democrats had full control and could have done it, bro. They didn't do it. Don't try to throw that BS out here.
No, they tried to, and it got blocked.
Didn't. No, they didn't. Democrats control the House, and the House is the House controls it, and Democrats couldn't do it when the Democrats had the full House. So don't give me that BS.
Okay, statehood aside, who in Congress right now is blocking the funding that's needed to set up a regulated system?
Tons of people.
Jason,
tons of people.
Who is that?
Democrats.
No, absolutely not.
Democrats and Republicans actually right now, but it's a combination of both.
Want to suppress democracy because they know if more people get access to the voting system, it's gonna be less of them. Mm-hmm. Am I right, Jason? That's the name of the game, right?
You're so full of baloney, bro.
Yeah,
that's the only reason Texas is a red state.
Texas is a red state.
Gerrymandering and voter suppression.
No, it's not, bro. No one thinks 100%. Like you out there, Sohum in Texas. No, they don't. They all have their head on straight out there.
Why don't you come down to the local country bar?
I'm down. I'm down to. I'm 100%. I was out there a while ago. I love Texas. You know the best part.
He gonna have to go out of. He gonna have to go to Texas. He got ran out of NorCal. He gonna get ran out of SoCal. He'll have to go to Texas.
I never got ran out of nowhere. That ain't never happened on my life. Know that.
I'm just playing. Nah, he good up here. He good. He's good.
Not to mention, I'm disabled. I can't run in the first place. So I mean, I don't even understand what you guys are talking about.
All right, they'll wheel you out.
Roll up on him.
No. But the fun thing about Texas for real though is that because we have our amazing hemp-derived THCA and CBD flower that's sold in every gas station and smoke shop everywhere, you can smoke CBD flower and THCA flower just about anywhere in public. A lot of bars allow you to do it on the patio, which I know you can't do in California right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do they let you smoke trank vapes?
Oh God! Oh, you know what?
If you can provide a COA that shows that it's CBD, you could probably get away with it.
Let's move.
And
let's
then
move to Luke, Rico.
Side business too. You could use your skin to do alligator shoes afterwards.
Yeah.
Now and later, get it.
Rico. Let's move to Luke. Let's move to Luke.
Disgusting.
Yeah. This is going off the track right here. All you tranks.
Next story.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So up next, in bringing us home today, y'all know who it is. It's the dope dad, author, activist, entrepreneur, OG, trailblazer, warrior for justice, spitter of truth, living proof that real ones still do exist. My man, the myth, the legend, the future of the game with a checkered past like all of us, Mr. Luke Scarmazzo. What do you have for us, my man?
Oh. Yeah, checkered past.
I gotta give you the applause too, man. Because
I always wait for some applause, man. That's cool. I didn't get much applause in the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
I hear that.
Whoa.
Okay. We're waiting.
We're not getting it, bro. Just go, Luke. We got to keep.
Okay, we just go. Save the applause, ladies and gentlemen. Save the. Okay. Thank you. Or don't. All right. Well, I appreciate that intro there, Reek. This story that I got today is not really on my outlaw correspondent stuff. This is more on some out of the state MSOs. So I guess we'll go. I'm just going to jump in there. We'll chop it up. We'll look at it and play with it and see what you guys think. So here we go. Marijuana multi-state operators continue to flee regulated state markets. Marijuana multi-state operators exited regulated cannabis markets through 2023, continuing a pattern fueled by increased capital costs, high taxes, and the slow pace of federal reform. New York-based The Cannabis Co., for example, recently exited Missouri and Utah after what CEO David Hart called a odorous year. Meanwhile, Florida-based Trulieve Cannabis Corp. wound down its presence in Massachusetts. While some companies may have invested too heavily in expansion plans or tried to spread themselves too thin across fragmented markets with different regulations, the industry is also young and still federally illegal. Part of the issue is that it's still, to some extent, the Wild West. Matt Kearns, founder of cannabis finance research company Greenwave Advisors in New York, said in an interview with MJ Biz Daily, "They're still learning as they go." New York-based Curaleaf Holdings has operations in 23 states in the first quarter of 2021. Today, Curaleaf operates in 17 of those states after exiting mature markets including California, Colorado, and Oregon, as well as less mature markets such as Arkansas, Vermont, Kentucky, where the company was invested in hemp. These changes are part of Curaleaf's plan to increase return on investment and divest from less lucrative areas. That's interesting. California less lucrative. While the company operates two fewer cultivation sites than it did in the beginning of 2021, it now employs 5,600 workers, about 800 more than it did 3 years ago. Revenue also increased during that time, although profitability remains elusive. Curaleaf's total revenue in 2023 was $1.3 billion, a 12.5% increase over 2021 when it posted a revenue of $1.2 billion. Mature markets with an unlimited number of available licenses are challenging to many MSOs. California, for example, is unlike other markets because consumers are more educated about cannabis and are accustomed to having plenty of choice from their illicit and regulated suppliers. In California, quote, you really have to be on top of it, whether it's a product offering they provide, a cultural fit, or a price point. Avis Boblian, CEO of California-based holdings company Sevia Enterprises, said. That's where a lot of the MSOs come up short. Less mature markets with an oversupply of cannabis are also challenging. I'm going to pause there to say I haven't really heard it articulated like that, of the difficulty of the California market for large corporations. And I want to say Avis is partially right there, that it is a combination of your product offering a cultural fit and a price point to a certain extent. I will go deeper on the cultural fit to say it matters about authenticity. Authenticity matters in California. People don't care whether or not Justin Bieber says to smoke this cannabis or not, in California anyway. They may care in Vancouver and Siri, where they just opened a store. Shout out to the Siri store that just opened in BC. But in California, it's a different situation, right? We grew up in the consumed in the cannabis culture with top grade cannabis all around us all the time. So for MSOs to come into this market, it becomes very difficult because you have to have that trifecta of cultural fit, price point, and product offerings. But when you go deeper into the cultural fit and say authenticity, that's where you see certain companies will strive above others. You see Cookies in a certain situation, right? Because Berner has that certain authenticity and cultural fit, and Cookies shows him doing R&D and these certain things. Whether or not he has the ability to do R&D on all Cookies products, of course not. But it's the fact that he's putting in that work and they're showing him do that work that people say, okay, that looks authentic to me. I want to spend money on that now. Other companies can't do that. And I'm not saying like there's not people who have culture and authenticity in other MSOs, but it would be hard for the CEO of Curaleaf or the owner of True Leaf or say an executive in those positions to say, hey, look at me doing R&D on this, look at this new strand. Does that hit right? Probably not, right? So now when you go into a California market and you try to use that muscle, it doesn't exactly work the same way. And that's the miss that a lot of these MSOs have. You have to have the right formulation. And if you don't, it's okay for somebody who does. But you can't, if you try to do that on your own, you will not succeed out here. This market is a jungle, it is vicious, and it is cutthroat. There's thousands of brands out here. Why should somebody purchase your brand on a shelf next to 1,999 others? It has to hit all of that trifecta and then even go deeper than that. But I'm getting off track, I digress. That less mature markets with an oversupply of cannabis are also challenging. For example, wholesale prices in Massachusetts have declined 25% over the past year because of oversupply and current average of $4,000 a pound. And it goes on to talk about that and cannabis retail operations in New York and other MSOs, and that as the dispensaries get running, that there's a lot of pressure on the MSOs to perform well in these new markets. And it basically goes on to talk about Cureleaf recently acquired Canadians Northern Green Supply, a cannabis producer focused on import-export market, which Cureleaf said will help it supply emerging European markets with a secure and consistent high-quality indoor. While it's too early to know for sure, Greenwave's Karen said it theoretically makes sense to invest in international opportunities, particularly since it's impossible to know if and when U.S. federal reform will occur. Kearns added that for the industry to be successful, new cannabis laws need to be enforced and non-compliant players should face consequences. For the industry to achieve its full potential, he said, we really have to have more proactive role on the part of law enforcement. Boom. See, they end on that. That's a huge disconnect. No, dummy. I'm going to say that, dummy. No, we don't need more proactive part on law enforcement in the cannabis community. Anyhow, I think I've articulated enough on this subject. I'm going to kick it back to my fellow correspondents. I'm sure you guys have something to add right here. This is Luke Scarmazzo coming to you on Wednesday, High at 9 News. Kicking it back to my fellow correspondents to go ahead and get some of your guys' input.
It's a funny story.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when they're missing the culture, and they're missing that side. I've said it since day one, man. This is different. It's not regular industry, and you need all three sides. You need business, you need wellness, and you need community, you need culture, and without all three, you're not going to succeed.
I think in general you're right, but I think that there is in the long run, post federal legalization, I think there is a place for MSOs, because look at beer, for example. Most people buy mass produced Anheuser-Busch or Miller Coors products, right? There is a massive market for that type of product, but it's very difficult for them to exist in a bunch of fractured different markets, and their business model is being exposed right now. It really feels like they're trying to hold on for that federal legalization when they can actually connect all their various interstate operations, right? Because you can't survive in places where people know about cannabis because there's too much supply, right? Or there's too many licenses. So their entire business model right now is predicated on going into states where they have extremely limited licenses and a very high barrier to entry, like high capital requirements. And focusing on monopoly. And even then, they can't even survive in some of those states. So there's obviously very clear issues. Even with a monopoly, how are you going out of business? Or an effective monopoly where there's only 35 licenses issued in the whole state and it's like 5 companies that own all of them.
You know what, Sohum, I have the solution to all of this shit is for these MSOs with their blank checks and everything. Why don't you fund these struggling brands? You guys have the money to do it. They have access to the market. That's what it takes. You know, y'all have the business. They have the business acumen. They got the dollars. They have the connections with politics. You know, a good way to actually get people to shop at your Apple store of weed.
They're starting to get there, though. Like,
been through it. Yeah, support the shoppers that have been through it, that are struggling because you know that they can't pay their fucking bills and they're not good at running a legal business. You guys got that shit banned up and everybody fucking wins, but we don't.
It's happening for multiple reasons. In Arizona, I just went to a Cureleaf store maybe like a week and a half ago, and there's no weed that you buy that comes in a package that says Cureleaf on it. They've wised up to that fact. Even all of their own product that's vertically integrated is sold under different branding. So they're on the right track. Eventually, they're probably going to start financing or acquiring those other struggling brands and absorbing them into their product portfolio because people don't want to buy Cureleaf weed, but they'll buy XYZ brand if they don't realize that it's actually Cureleaf weed.
See, this is my thing, though, is I don't want to see these brands acquired. I don't want to see them gobbled up. I want to see collaborations. Cureleaf, do a collaboration on the ground with one of the brands in Arizona and make it favorable to the brand. I'm going to say something that's completely crazy in your boardroom. Make it favorable to the brand, but where you still make money in there and you still make more money than you would if you put XYZ or Cureleaf side house brand or whatever else it is that you do. Go into New York or go into wherever it is where some of these other brands are and say, hey, look, let's link up with some of these social justice brands. Let's link up with some of these social equity brands that know the network, that have the people, that have the support, that have the following already there. You don't have to go build out and go try to flood the market with cheap greenhouse crap. You can collab with some of the local cultivators that are already there growing fire and make them grow more fire and make it more available and co-brand it and collab with them. How about that? I don't know.
And stop asking cops to fucking bust trappers.
Yeah, and stop asking cops to arrest people. How blatantly disrespectful can you be to the plant and to the community when you call for things like this? That is just madness to me.
Fair enough, you guys.
We can't all be friends. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, boy.
You know, there's a bunch of us that got the streets. They got the streets on lock. They got the community. They got the culture on lock. But you know what? They can't fuck with the price of doing business right now. And just like you said, Luke, these corporations that are snitching on the local players that have the voice of the people, like you're digging your own grave. Because once they go out of business, they're still going to be selling to your customers that refuse to go into your store, because not only are you big box booth, but you're also a snitch now.
Big box booth.
Big box booth. I like that.
Big box booth.
We need. Can we get stickers made of that?
Man.
Big box booth.
Yeah, keep dicking back, being bull, drinking some boffy, and no to big box booth.
Big box booth. Man.
Yes, sir. Man.
Let's close it.
Man, good conversations today, man.
Yeah.
Good one today, man.
But we got a dip, y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for joining us today for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the Big Screen. And thank you all for just showing love and showing up online to our live audience members as well, and supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the Headlines of Chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on. AV struggles to a minimum. Adam back there remotely feathering his hair at home right now. I don't know what he has on. I'm not going to ask either.
Oh boy, he's got slides on.
Oh my God, man. I'm not even our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety, perspective, and your respective opinions to the table. Thank you all very much. So as always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you, baby girl. It has been Hump Day Wednesday. April 10th, 2024. The show is over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. Real quick today, man. Sohum, you got us for the outro, my man.
Yeah. Again, what a great discussion, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Put something in your pipe or roll it up. Roll up a blunt. Roll up a joint. Put some good vibes in the air. Get ready for 420. And if you're not busy this afternoon, go watch some Champions League football.
Champions League football.
That's right.
Is that even real?
That's soccer, Jason.
Oh,
that's
soccer. Just
bro.
say soccer. Yeah.
They actually use more feet than hands. You know what I'm saying? It's this crazy concept.
Yeah, it's crazy.